Coming up on DC News Now at 4. Heartbreak in Riverdale. 2 kids killed by a driver on their way to school. Plus, a church in Chevy Chase devastated by a 2-alarm fire. We're live with reaction.
Rain, wind, and some wintry precipitation on the way for your Tuesday. We'll let you know when the worst of this storm will pass through.
Then it's almost time to deck the halls and stuff those stockings. We're helping you stretch your dollar to ring in the holiday shopping season. And one woman is going above and beyond for animals in Washington County.
We're not in it alone.
Meet this week's DMV doer.
You're watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on this Monday for DC News Now at 4. I'm Annalisa Gale. Mark Hall has the evening off. Developing now in Maryland, 2 elementary school children were hit and killed while walking to school this morning in Riverdale Park in Prince George's County. That's where we find our Leonard and Fleming. It happened right across the street from Riverdale Elementary School at the corner of Riverdale Road and Taylor Road around 8 a.m. Now, Leonard, you were talking to several parents this afternoon. What are they telling you about this?
Annalisa, yes, this happened literally right here at this corner at Riverdale and Taylor Road. And yes, parents that I spoke to today, their hearts go out to the family affected in this tragedy. Here is the aftermath of the deadly crash. A dark van with yellow police tape in front of it and a lone backpack on the ground. What we know is the children were hit on their walk to school. Police are not telling us their ages, but children at the school I spoke to say the children killed were siblings. Heather Clay has a 5th grader at the school who says he knew of one of the victims from class.
There's been times when there have been like close calls and it's really sad. A family lost their family members. And that's not okay. It could have been prevented.
Prince George's County officials say they are not releasing any more details, but they are now in charge of this investigation and they still have to notify more family members before making more information public. Annalisa?
All right, thank you, Leonard. But police aren't releasing many details like you said, but what are parents most concerned about at this hour?
Well, the biggest complaint that they've had, Annalisa, is the fact that they haven't seen crossing guards at this intersection behind me, and that has been a huge problem, and that's something that they say could have prevented this situation from happening earlier today. Reporting from Riverdale Park, Maryland, Leonard and Fleming, DC News Now, back to you.
All right, Leonard, thank you. And switching gears now, live look outside at Roslyn here at 4-3. We've had a nice dry stretch for the weekend today, but we have some changes coming. Meteorologist Damon Matson joining us now with more on that.
Yeah, Annalisa, it only lasts so long, this quiet weather. We have not had a lot of unsettled conditions across the DMV these last few weeks, but we're going to be making up for lost time tomorrow as it's going to be quite a nasty day out there. Now, it's going to be a little worse in some parts of the region with the rain, the wind, and yes, even wintry precipitation for some that we are expecting. Here we have wind advisories, Western Maryland into West Virginia throughout the day tomorrow. And then in these same locations, we also have winter weather advisories for tomorrow morning, as we are expecting a little bit of wintry precip in the mountains first, to be followed up by that wind and then widespread, very steady rainfall across the entire region. So even if you're not necessarily under an advisory, it is going to get very unsettled out there tomorrow, folks. And we're seeing the leading edge of this storm system out there already. No precipitation, but we have a lot of clouds spread out over the DMV with that precip from this incoming storm system looming on the horizon back toward the Ohio River Valley. Now, as you go about your Monday evening, going into Monday night, no worries yet. Just those same clouds and cool temperatures as we fall back down through the 40s. Some of us will end up in the 30s then later on tonight, and that's some of the cooler air that could lead to that freezing rain in the mountains. So we'll let you know who is most likely to see some of that wintry precip tomorrow and how much rain we could end up picking up before all is said and done. That's coming up in your full forecast here in just a bit.
All right, Damon, thank you. And turning now to sports, the Washington Commanders coming off a tough loss to the New York Giants Sunday, their second loss in a row. Sports director Derek Forrest now joining us in studio. And Derek, the season isn't over yet, but a lot of people are wondering what happens with the playoff.
Yeah, and not just their playoff hopes, Annalisa. The fans' confidence in the coaching staff has been growing more impatient with each loss. Under 4 years with Ron Rivera and his staff, people have expected to see more. However, this team just isn't there. Now, the Commanders once again struggled at the hands of the New York Giants, turning the ball over 6 times in Sunday's 31-19 loss. This on top of the defense not helping out, giving up too many explosive plays to New York was a recipe for disaster. Now, the Commanders have lost 7 of their last 9 games and are 4-7 on the season.
I can only control what I can. And as long as things that we want to be going in the right direction seem to be doing that, that's a positive. What happens from beyond today, what happens from beyond the end of the season, that's not in my control. So everything I'm going to do is just focusing on today. I mean, the now and present, that's the only thing I have.
Now, the Washington Commanders will have to get right back at it with another short week this season, as the Commanders will be on the road in Dallas Thursday night for a Thanksgiving showdown with the Cowboys. Annalisa.
Derek, thank you. And developing now, fire crews in Montgomery County worked for several hours to put out this fire at a Mormon church in Chevy Chase earlier today. That fire broke out late this morning and got up to a 2-alarm blaze. DC Fire and EMS was called in to assist, officials confirming that part of the interior of the church has collapsed. No injuries have been reported at this time. Our Dave Laval is on the scene, though. He'll have more in a live report coming up at 4:30 on this. And in Virginia now, 6 teens are in the hospital and another is facing charges after a serious crash in Fairfax County. It happened in Merrifield, Virginia around 5 this morning. Right now, the teen driver is facing DUI charges. Our Randy Bass is joining us live from the scene now. Randy, what are you learning at this hour?
Yeah, Annalisa, neighbors describe the whole thing to us as terrifying. They tell us 7 teens, all riding in one car, came up over this hill, driving extremely fast. You see those tire tread marks they left behind in their wake, rushing down Shreve Road here onto the sidewalk and into this tree. 5 of them were thrown from the car. Another had to be pulled from the wreckage. 6 of them taken to the hospital. Police then took that teenage driver into custody. Neighbors tell me today they always have feared that something like this could happen right here.
That's exactly what we're afraid of, and the reason why we don't let our kids play in the front yard here.
Alex Cadot has lived along Shreve Road for about 5 years. He says speeding has been a problem since he and his family moved in.
I don't even really feel comfortable mowing my grass in the front sometimes because the cars, they just come over the hill extremely fast.
Speeding over this hill, it's exactly what police say a teenage drunk driver was doing early this morning before crashing into a tree and into a neighbor's yard.
It's kind of a blind hill when you're going over about 40, 45 miles per hour.
Cadot says he and his neighbors have pushed for VDOT's help to make this stretch of Shreve Road safer. After a pedestrian was hit and killed about a mile up the road in 2019, VDOT performed a safety study along the Shreve Road corridor. Cadot says that's when changes were made along other parts of Shreve Road, but not enough was done along this specific stretch.
How many more people have to basically die in order to do something here?
Yeah, neighbors here along Shreve Road tell me they're still very shaken up here tonight. A lot of trauma just here in the neighborhood. We've reached out to police for any updates on the conditions of those 6 teens who were taken to the hospital this morning. No update there. Last we heard they were all still in serious condition at a local hospital. As for that teenage driver now charged with DUI, it's not yet clear when that teen could find himself before a judge. Of course, this story is still very much developing, and we'll bring you new details as we get them. Live in Merrifield, I'm Randy Bass, DC News Now.
Randy, thank you. Well, new tonight, the D.C. Council is working to improve low-performing schools in the district. Several council members, including Council Member Zachary Parker and Chairman Phil Mendelson, introducing a proposal known as the School Improvement Act. Today, the council members held their first public hearing. The goal of that proposal is to establish a school support office and more services for the lowest performing 5% of schools there. The president of the Washington Teachers Union says she supports this legislation.
I would hope that the council adopts this legislation to increase transparency around how dollars are spent and around how these interventions that are being undertaken at turnaround schools.
Now, the Washington Teachers Union says while they support the legislation, they would like to see more details about the metrics and more data that will be used for schools that will be in need of improvements.